Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It has been a very long time since my last video, which I apologize for, but it has been a really crazy year, partially of which you will hear in this video. But the last I posted was getting into UC Berkeley, and now I want to share with you a few things that I wish I knew before going to Berkeley. And before I get started, I just want to clarify that this is all like my personal opinion based on my own experiences. So I'm not trying to scare you or deter you or sway you either direction on whether you're deciding to go to Berkeley or you've already committed to Berkeley. These are just a few things that I wish I had known prior to going to Berkeley. So let's get started. Thing number one, which I'm sure you would probably expect, is stress. And I don't even mean stress like your own personal stress from classes and academic and social life, but just the overall kind of mentality at Berkeley. It's very stressful. Everyone there is getting pushed to their limits. Classes are extremely rigorous, and so you have a bunch of young people who are not in a good state of mind, is I think the best way to put it. There were times when I had a little bit less work, and so I would take some time off for myself to recover and just kind of get back to a healthy state of mind. But because those around me were still under a lot of stress, they would make me feel guilty about doing these things. They would make comments that made me feel like I shouldn't be doing those things, that I should be more stressed out than I was. And it's just a pretty generally unhealthy mentality to kind of be surrounded by. So unless you're very careful, it can be very easy to fall into all of this stress and really let it impact you. In terms of my own stress, I found it pretty manageable in the sense that I was not depressed. I never questioned suicide or that I wasn't good enough or anything like that. But stress did manifest in ways that I never expected. I started getting pretty severe acne. I'm not talking just like little breakouts, but like full-on cystic acne, just from the stress alone. So if you do go there, make sure that you have down different ways to take care of yourself, ways to relieve stress, and just kind of help yourself relax and not fall into some unhealthy habits or a negative state of mind. Now, the second thing you should know before going to Berkeley is that the housing crisis there is real. This is something that I was warned about before going, and I kind of thought that I could find the exception to this, that I could find a hidden apartment that was super inexpensive and close to campus, but that doesn't exist. Everything there is really expensive. You will be sharing a room if you want it to be affordable. Any kind of single housing is gonna cost you well above $1,200 or so, whereas shared housing usually falls between $800 to $1,200, I would say. $800 being the minimum, of course. And the school itself can't even provide housing to freshmen. There's not a guarantee that they'll be able to get you housing, and the housing they do provide is extremely expensive. I didn't even consider it. There are a couple ways around this. For one, the co-op system is an affordable student housing option, but the only problems with it is that it's pretty hard to get into. The waiting list is very long, and the co-ops aren't for everyone. They have a reputation of being pretty dirty and pretty loud, and I, living in a co-op, can attest to both of those things. Luckily, I live in one of the cleaner houses. It's a little bit smaller and quieter, so this hasn't been a huge issue for me, but I have met other people in the co-op system who do have problems with studying or sleeping, or just general happiness in a house that might always be dirty or loud or whatever it be. Where I'm living, I pay about $900 a month, and that covers all food and utilities and furniture as well as rent. So even though it's not the most ideal price, it is still definitely a lot better than the other housing options that are available. But if you do go there, start looking on Craigslist pretty early just so you get an idea of what is out there. Look at the student housing page. People will post ads for roommates or subletters or anything like that. And if you are interested in the co-ops, you can always ask me any questions you have. And do your own research. I was constantly on Reddit and looking up different forums on the co-op system to really know what I was getting into before I commit to it. On a more positive note, the third thing you should know before going to Berkeley is how many resources and classes are available to you as a student. So even if a school has your major, every school has different classes within that major. So I compared classes at Cal Poly, at Berkeley, at Santa Barbara, at Santa Cruz, at all these different universities to see which ones had the most specific classes to what I'm interested in. And after comparing them all, Berkeley had the most classes that I was interested in terms of more specific topics. The problem with a lot of programs is that you get a pretty broad knowledge on things, but maybe if you're super interested in one particular thing, there's only like 1 or 2 lectures on that area. So it's really important to find a school that is a little bit more specialized to that niche so that you have more options in terms of classes. For myself, I found the Conservation Resource Studies major there, which is an interdisciplinary major. I've been able to take classes in the things that I am most interested in and not have to take classes in things that I'm less interested in. Now, every school is going to be different in this case, and it's going to change varying on your own interests. But for me, I really like sustainable design, so I'm able to mix classes from the architecture department and the city planning department and the College of Natural Resources to kind of shape an overall major that is really unique to my own interests. Other amazing opportunities are decals and student clubs. Now, decals are probably one of my favorite parts about going to Berkeley. Not a lot of other colleges have a system in which students can teach other students in classes that they get units for. If you haven't already, I really recommend looking into the decals that Berkeley offers because there are literally classes in every topic you can imagine, and they're super fun and interesting, and it's just a really good way to lighten your schedule while still getting units. Other resources that you should explore are the health center, all the gyms and pools available, the food pantry. There's a ton that Berkeley has to offer, you just have to go and find it. So I would really look into all of these resources and all of these classes before you go so that you can fully take advantage of everything once you're there. I'll add to that, you should definitely check out pool hours and gym times because there are some pools that might be close to where you live that you could go to just for fun. There's a gym that's like 2 minutes away from my house. So this leads me into number 4, which is another positive, and it's how cool Berkeley as a city is. I feel like over the past year, I didn't fully take advantage of everything that Berkeley has to offer. It definitely is very easy to kind of fall into a cycle where you're just home and in the library and walking around campus, and that's basically the extent of your routine. But Berkeley as a city has a bunch of cool restaurants. There's some amazing hikes in the Bay Area. You have the marina right there. You have Oakland and San Francisco. So there's definitely a lot to take advantage of. One thing I really recommend doing is going on Facebook and seeing the events near you because there's always a bunch of cool stuff going on. And I feel like, again, I didn't really take advantage of all these things. Oakland has First Fridays, which are really cool. There's lots of theaters and shows going on. The new Parkway is a theater in Oakland that has kind of like an assortment of seating, and they play old movies and new movies, and it's just an overall cool place. You have San Francisco right there. You have incredible restaurants. The Bay Area has some really good hikes and camping. So there's definitely a lot to take advantage of. It's just a matter of kind of seeking it and then doing it. So going into my next year, I think that's going to be something that I focus on a lot more, is just really enjoying Berkeley as a city and everything that the Bay Area has to offer. And the 5th thing that I wish I knew before going to Berkeley is in regards to the social life. Unfortunately, the social life there is not the easiest. I can honestly say that I have not really found my group of people yet. It's really hard to make lasting relationships in an environment where everyone's really stressed out and focused on school and just unhappy generally. I'm not saying it's impossible. It's probably a lot easier as a freshman than it is a transfer, but it definitely is harder at Berkeley than at other schools because you have this kind of stressful environment that doesn't support a healthy social life. Now, that is not saying that it's impossible to make friends, because I think it definitely is, but you have to put yourself out there a lot more than maybe you would have to otherwise at a different school. Now, I would say I'm a fairly introverted person, but I can definitely be extroverted when I want to. And so for that reason, it's been a little bit harder to make friends. I've definitely had people in classes that I'm friendly with, that I talk to in class and that I can study with, but I haven't made a whole lot of lasting friendships beyond that, and I definitely don't have like a group of friends that I can go do fun things with which I think would definitely enhance my experience at Berkeley, because as I said in the last thing, there definitely are a lot of cool things to do in the Bay Area, but they're a lot more fun to do when you have people to go do it with. So for that reason, I would rank Berkeley lower than other schools, because I know that if I had gone to SLO or Santa Barbara or anywhere else, maybe it would have been easier to make friends that I have things in common with, that I could go do fun things with. So for this, I really recommend joining clubs, taking classes you're interested in, to really boost your chances of meeting like-minded people for you to be friends with. It also really is just a matter of talking to people and being friendly. It can be really tempting to stay silent and not really start conversation, whether it be in class or at the library. But if you do want an active social life, you do have to put yourself out there more. Now, one thing I want to add, because this is something that I actually noticed pretty recently that is a huge bonus, I would say, to going to Berkeley, is just kind of the value that the name holds, which I think should definitely be considered with everything else that I've said about the school, because I think a lot of people can be tempted by the name and not really understand everything that comes with it. But that being said, when I do tell people I go to UC Berkeley, I get the oohs and ahs. People are very interested. People think more highly of you because of it, which I don't necessarily think is right, but it is something that I've noticed as a Berkeley student, is that people respect you a little bit more and take you a little more seriously because you go to Berkeley. So those are just a few of the things about Berkeley that I thought were worth noting if you are considering going or if you are going. But there's definitely a lot more to the school, both good and bad. So if you have any questions or comments, leave them below. If you found this video helpful or useful to you in any way, please like and subscribe. And if there's any other topic regarding Berkeley that you would like to hear more about, I can totally make a video on that. Just let me know down below. So yeah, thank you for watching.